Okay, gonna build the Ogre Tyrant. So this is from the special issue of Stormbringer, which I've been reliably informed is, it's a model that you can get for Games Workshop from around about £22. So the issue is actually worth it due to the fact that this is about half that cost. So let's get ourselves up and running here. This hopefully will be a nice quick build. It does require glue, but because it's a big model with big pieces, this should actually hopefully go quite quickly. So I'm going to start off by getting this big chunky number 1 out. Now, one thing I like about the Ogor, really throughout the history of Warhammer, they haven't really changed that much in overall appearance. They've become, better quality models, but they've really never really changed that much from what you might call their early inceptions. Okay, so just trying to get individual pieces out. So there's number 8. Yeah, now 6 and 7 is the boots. Yeah, there's very little physical changes in an Ogre other than obvious upscaling. But I think some true cores are always there with them. For example, belly plates. They've always seemed to be a big thing with ogres. The gut armor. Now, obviously, that's changed over time to represent the maw. Number 2 is the cloak. But the general feeling of an ogre hasn't changed, and I like that it's literally kept that basic ethos for so long. Sometimes it's nice when ranges just don't change that much. They stick to their roots almost completely. So, I am pretty pleased about that, and I do like the fact that that's the case with the Ogre. So even in Age of Sigmar, there's been no significant changes. However, and this is the big kicker. See, this is something I'm probably going to be talking about quite a lot coming up. It's not going to be long before they have to decide what to do with the Ogor Moor tribes in Age of Sigmar and the Ogre tribes from Warhammer Fantasy Battles, because they've already decided to make the change for the free cities so that the Empire range can be returned to Oldhammer. However, the Ogor Moor tribes are different. They are not. It's hard to see how they could make them intrinsically different between the two games. So I'm trying to think what way that they're going to, take it really. I have noticed though that with the Free City Militias there is actually an ogre model with some kind of like citer or something on top of it. I'll have to check in a bit more detail. So what they might be doing is they might be giving us a clue about the direction of the Ogor Moor tribes in Age of Sigmar. If you look at the ogres in Age of Sigmar, they're leaner if you look at the new model. So that's definitely a major characteristic of them, a kind of trimming down of the side. They look taller, and I think that's going to be the long-term distinction. So stay tuned. I am 100% convinced that before long, this guy's going to get moved back across to the old world, and we're going to probably see a new Ogor Moor tribe faction in the future. I think that's the change that's going to sort of roll in. I'm 100% convinced of it because I just don't see them having the same army effectively for 2 different games. The only that they tend to do that is with Demons of Chaos, because it's just the genre that you're in. You've got replicated demons across, but so I am convinced that you are not going to see that kind of replication, not for long anyway. It might be in the early days of Oldhammer, but I suspect that the Moor tribes are going to be purely old hammer. I think that's where most people feel them from, because huge numbers of players either played the old world or they play Total War. And again, in Total War 2 expansion with the Ogre, and Total War 3 with the actual tribes themselves, it just feels right. So maybe I'm wrong, but I was predicting some kind of change for the Empire, to be quite honest. I'm just going to put this guy in his base now to make sure the feet are flat. Start getting him dried onto that base, just making my life a bit easier. Okay. So yeah, we might see some very significant changes coming across. And really, I think to my mind, they need to make sure the Age of Sigmar is its own unique property, and Warhammer is its own unique Fantasy Battles is its own unique property. So we shall watch this space and find out, shan't we? Now, let me just check. I'm trying to work out if this is... That's a bit of webbing. It's chopping off. Doesn't look right, that. Anyway, for now though, it's nice to have a different model just to play around with and have a look into. Get that glue on, and I'll get this cape tidied up. Not a big fan of attaching capes to begin with, as I've probably said so many times. I just find that they're one of those parts that are best painted separately. Is gonna sit happily on the back. Yeah, you see, I'm just gonna rest that on there for now. I don't really want to risk gluing it because it's quite a bit to do that. Right, now we need 3, which is his big spear. Just trying to get this arm settled in just in the right place. Let's check. Quite a weird position in that. Let's take it from the back. There. Yeah, you can see this cloak's going to kind of fit over everything there, so probably best to leave it off for painting. What else have we got? So we need 12, which is the head. I think there's only one head option, one weapon option. It's a bit of a shame, really, that I prefer a bit of, you know, originality in my characters, ability to do just different things. Okay. Right, 9 and 10. So these are these curved little spikes. Oops. Ding. Well, that was fun. I just had a proper disappearing model part then. I mean, we're talking about 10 minutes of very carefully searching around on the floor till I found it. Gosh. I mean, I keep my work area, like right around my work area, I keep it nice and clean. So that if I do have a kind of moment where something drops away off my desk, I can find it again. But this bad boy, this really wanted to be hidden. I can't believe that took so long to get back. It's always a good idea to keep your desk area very clean as a result of it, because you'll regret it if you lose something permanently. Sorry, this is number 9, isn't it? It goes over here. Gonna have to read up on the Ogor tribes backstory, really, or the kind of lore behind them, because I only really tend to know my Age of Sigmar stuff. Old Hammer stuff. But obviously, ogres on the old world used to worship this thing called the Great Maw. This belly in the ground that seems to have fallen from the skies. Now, suggesting it was some kind of demonic entity or something. I mean, this is the thing. Something crashed from the sky. It landed, and then where it landed, there was a great hole in the world. And the ogres, whenever they got near it, they needed to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat from that point onwards. So it's some kind of demonic entity. Let's have a look here. 4 and 5. Yeah, so I'm curious if a similar backstory happens in Age of Sigmar, that maybe the Maw tribes. Sorry, where was I? Someone shouted at me. So I wonder if that's the backstory to the Ogor tribes. That's actually quite an interesting thought, isn't it? Anyway, so I mean, I'm trying to think of all plausible things. So, a demonic entity, but, you know, in the old world, it's never fully confirmed. This is one of these things. It's kind of always hinted at that the Warhammer 40,000 universe and the Fantasy Sigmar universe are linked. Now, they're linked by the warp, so they have like all the same demons. Be'lakor seems to have been a demon that was created in the old world, but can travel to the 40k universe as well. I don't know if he's got a different backstory in the 40k universe. I need to look that up. But I got my kind of own intriguing little headcanon about the Warhammer universe. So in fantasy, well, I'll start with in 40k. In 40k, the Eldar basically, they have these things called maiden worlds, safe worlds, where, you know, some of their people stay. They are less technologically advanced. They're referred to as, you know, tending dragons in some cases and things like that. So it's inferred, if not absolute, get that on the right place, will help, that these worlds are connected. Then you've got the Seraphim, also known as the Lizard Men, or the, you know, the in the old world again. That kind of, it's inferred that there's a link between them. Yeah, I can slide that on afterwards. Good. So what does it mean? Well, this is the thing that makes me wonder. And the old ones of the Warhammer 40k universe, they used to basically create all the other races. So they created the Eldari, they created the Slan, also known as the Seraphon, the Lizard Men. They fought the Necrons, who were not Necrons at first, but the Necrontyr. Anyway, so the fact that there's links between the different laws, plus all the, as I said, all the same demonic entities are able to interact with both parts of it. Yeah, so that those kind of links give me a kind of feeling that the old world, the world that was, is potentially a you know, an old one colony. The Eldar maintain an enclave there, but maybe they've been there so long that those have long since forgotten where they came from, potentially, although, you know, Eldar are long-lived. They are elvish, the Eldari are long-lived. So there's a good chance that Teclis and so on, actually they're fully aware of the world. Now, here's the thing. There's a catastrophe at some point, and the old world, well, that ends up with a warp gate at the north and a minor warp gate at the south. There's a massive demonic incursion and all of this goes on. And then, years later, Sigmar turns up. Now, he's just a human as far as the law's concerned. He's nothing special, but he does turn up again during a mystical event during the coming of a twin-tailed comet. I'm waffling, but I'm getting to the point here. I actually personally have a headcanon that the breakdown of the chaos, you know, like the World Gate and all the warp storms on the old world, the first major warp incursions, I personally like to believe that was either the Maelstrom or the Eye of Terror being formed. And then later in the canon, sorry, I'll get 13 out as well. when in the 40k universe, the Emperor is rising on Earth, and he tries to make his pact with the Chaos Gods to try and steal their power to create the Primarchs. I personally like to believe that the Warhammer world is a test. The fantasy universe is a test that they devise to see who's worthy. So what they did is they put the Emperor into the old world in the body of a human with no memories to see, you know, how he would behave. And obviously he does become a demigod in himself, so it's obvious that his ruse to some extent must have worked. And that's how I like to believe, you know. It's headcanon, it's not official, it's just a story that I like to tell myself to make my games more interesting. But it kind of fits it. Now, during the end times in the old world and the coming of Acheron, I like to believe that is potentially the Horus heresy kicking off, and that Acheron is actually Horus's voids, you know, like Warhammer equivalent, Warhammer Fantasy equivalent. You know, and again, it kind of fits with all of the kind of sacrifices and everything else that goes on. And that basically the whole Age of Sigmar is effectively happening while the Emperor is entombed on the Golden Throne. Anyway, that's my headcanon. It's a bit of fun that I enjoy doing. It's not true, it's just something that I do to make fun. Right, unfortunately it looks like I've got no other choice than to glue this cape on, because otherwise this isn't going to sit properly. Dang, dang, dang. Didn't want to do that because it makes painting the back of this miniature so much harder. Ah, well. Yeah, because otherwise that arm's not going on. The shoulder pad's not going to sit properly, you can see here. It's going to go a bit funny over. So then this is going to kind of click into here. That's unfortunate. I really hate gluing cloaks on if I can help it. Okay, start letting that settle. And then get the number 14 out, and this should be, by the look of it, the last little part. I've knocked my camera off when I've had to move everything before to find that piece that plinked off onto the floor. Okay, getting there, last little bit now. Okay, there we go. That is the Ogor Tyrant done. Probably took a bit longer than I wanted to, partly because I was crawling around on the floor looking for a lost part. And I'm a bit annoyed that I had to glue the cape on, because that makes painting so much more difficult. But there we go. That is him all nicely done. Hope you liked that video, and please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time when I start building the that weird marsh crawling creature. I can't remember even what it's called now. Alright, I'll see you then. Bye.